Hey guys, what's going on? And today I have some Gears of War gameplay. It's the beta, and it's day 4, which means the active reloads have been turned off. This was, I suppose, an experiment by the Coalition to see how the game would actually play out with actives turned off. Actives in Gears of War 1 have never been turned off before. I mean, this isn't technically Gears of War 1, it's the Ultimate Edition. But it pretty much plays the same. Definitely has been some controversy surrounding the actives being turned off. A lot of hardcore players have been saying, oh, this is terrible, this is not how Gears of War is meant to be played. And then there's the other half of the hardcore players or the loyal fan base to say, oh, this is great, this is how I wish it was in day 1. And I'd say I'm probably part of that side. I love everything about Gears of War. I love everything that makes Gears of War, but absolutely one thing I did not like ever about Gears of War was the actives. Not the actives in general, but just the damage boost. I absolutely loved the damage boost, to be honest. Because while it technically doesn't create inconsistent damage, it can be frustrating when you and your opponent both are at this exact same distance, you both have the exact same accuracy, but he one-shots you simply because he reloaded a bit faster. Seems kind of fucked up. And, you know, I really kind of hate that type of gameplay. It just doesn't necessarily represent skill to me. If you're honestly going to tell me that, you know, running and shooting your shotgun into a wall before you enter combat and then reloading at the precise time is skill, well, I mean skill in terms of video game skill, then I'm just going to tell you that's pathetic, because I don't believe that can be you know, classified really as skill. It's more of, I suppose, you know, a routine or kind of reflex that you get used to after you play the game for so long. It's kind of like muscle memory, I suppose. That's the term that I'd use. Far from skill, you know. It's not like coordination or anything, or knowledge of the game, or, you know, precision of your thumbs to aim, you know, correctly and stuff like that. So when I was playing on this day, active reloads actually turned off. I really enjoyed it. Because I wasn't getting frustrated by getting like one shot from an active damage shotgun, and I also enjoyed the fact that I didn't have to worry about having actives to actually feel like I'm playing on an equal playing field. As well as that, there's always been the controversy of, you know, the sniper rifle with an active reload having a one-shot down. That didn't exist for a few of the days of the beta when the active reload was turned off. And it's actually made, in my opinion, the sniper rifle a bit more of a skill weapon. I think that's kind of obvious, but it needs to be stated. Now to actually get kills, you need to headshot. Or, you know, use it as a support weapon. On one hand, like, I can totally understand why the sniper rifle was given an active one-shot down, because then it actually makes it a serious power weapon, and the sniper rifle is a power weapon. But on the other hand, sniper rifle, when it's a one-shot active, it becomes way too easy to use. I mean, Gears of War bodies are pretty large. The hitboxes are pretty large. Even with all the rolling, the roly running, it's pretty easy to hit someone in this game with a sniper rifle. And it doesn't even matter where you hit them with an active shot from the sniper. If you hit them in the foot, if you hit them in the chest, if you hit them in the pinky toe, they are still going to get one shot down with an active. Doesn't matter where. So it's really easy to hit someone with a sniper in this game. And getting a one shot down with a sniper can be seen as cheap, because like I said, it's so easy. There's really nothing to it. And it can definitely frustrate players. You know, getting downed constantly by a one-shot sniper, pretty frustrating. I mean, that kind of logic can be seen in any type of game. Any type of game where a player or the player itself gets, you know, one-shotted, no matter if it's from an AI or if it's from another player, people tend to complain about that. And I mean, rightfully so. When you feel like you've had absolutely no chance, frustration begins to grow. Because players, or at least people in general, actually enjoy, not enjoy, but they do not like to ever feel, they do not like being challenged, but not actually having a chance to fight back at that challenge. And no, when you get one-shot sniper down, you feel like you really, there was nothing you could do. Because honestly, like I said, it's so hard to actually avoid getting sniped because your hitboxes are so large. And it's one of the, I'd say the sniper is definitely one of the easier weapons to use if you have an active in it, but that's just my opinion. So I noticed, like, when the actives were turned off, players were getting a lot more headshots. The sniper in general was a lot more satisfying to use. So I definitely welcome that change, but I think the biggest factor was that the shotguns just felt way more consistent. Everyone had the same amount of damage. There was no more active fucking reload bullshit. Where, like, if you had two players, one with an active, one with the other, he'd probably win. Just the one with the active would probably win, just because he reloaded that, the exact timing required. And that just feels bullshit to me, honestly. Like, people go on like how Gears is, like, they say they're a Gears fan because it requires, skill, right? But when you have an active damage like this, it doesn't create an equal playing field. And when there isn't an equal playing field, skill is less of a factor. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, if you create an equal playing field by, taking, by outmaneuvering your opponent or having a better weapon or something, I suppose that's okay, right? But what doesn't seem okay to me is when you have an unequal playing field just because you can reload a gun at the precise time required by muscle memory and actually having that damage boost still active when you meet an opponent. Because anyone who is not aware, active reload, see that bar at the top, top right below the weapon? There's a small section when you reload that if you hit it, it's the white part, the very, very bright white part. If you hit it, you get an active damage for the amount of shells or bullets reloaded. And it's quite a considerable damage boost. So, but as well as that, it's also timed. It's not until you die or until the shells or bullets are expended. It's actually a timed damage boost. And I think that's what makes it feel so gimmicky, is the fact that it's timed. Like, your active damage could literally just stop being an active damage during the middle of a gunfight. And that's why you see a lot of pro players that just, fire into a wall or something before they, at the beginning of a match, they fire into a wall before going into the power weapon sections just so they can have a, damage boost from the reload. And, like, honestly, at that point, why even have a damage boost? It's just creating inconsistency, and it makes newer players feel frustrated. I just think it should be removed just to create a more equal playing field between players and to actually bring in more skill, honestly. I believe this would bring in more skill because the player who has the better aim, the better teamwork, the better maneuverability will most likely win over the player who has lesser skill in that, I suppose. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I've never been really a fan of actives. But I could be totally wrong on it. Another thing that I've kind of, I suppose, noticed, it's being complained a lot about with this game is the center, the blind fire, like the center blind fire. So basically, if you're unaware again, Gears of War 1, it always had when you're like not aiming, when you're actually blind firing or firing from the hip, the bullets actually come from the center of your screen, not from the barrel, which is actually different from previous Gears of War games, which is actually different from Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3, the sequels, where the actual blind fire bullets or shells came from the barrel. And this, I suppose, it makes more sense, but it also makes it slightly easier to aim, in my opinion, because obviously you're like a human is able to make sense of where the bullet's actually going to go if it's from the barrel. It's easier to make sense of it. Doesn't mean it does make more sense. When it comes from the center of the screen, it tends to give I suppose, the illusion that your bullets or your shells are not actually hitting, like they're actually going through your opponent or having a bad register. When in actual fact, even if your barrel is pointing at an enemy and you fire and it does absolutely nothing, that's because it's coming from the center of the screen, not the barrel, and that creates an illusion of bad hitboxes or bad bullet registration. And honestly, I kind of find it a bit weird, but this was something that was developed in the fundamentals of Gears of War, and one of the developers on the forum said that it cannot be changed simply because it is the fundamentals. I believe that they would have actually changed this if it could have been changed. If it was possible, because it actually makes a lot more sense in terms of aiming and I suppose making a bit less and I suppose it makes it a bit less frustrating for the player. So thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this gameplay commentary, please subscribe. I appreciate all subscriptions. Thank you, and have a nice day.